Okay, good morning and welcome to the Introduction to Biblical Hebrew class, both to the students here at the Jamaica School of Preaching and Biblical Studies, and also to all of you from the different countries around the world who are tuning in to the YouTube channel JSP Mona. I hope that you will find the study of the first language that the Old Testament was written in to be helpful in your own study of the Bible. Now, next week, if God permits, I'm going to be giving the first test on Lesson 10, Lesson 11, and Lesson 12. Lesson 10 is entitled Maketh and Kames Hatuf. I only have composite Shua there because I hadn't finished it when I was teaching or reviewing Lesson 9. So I included it in the following lesson, but properly speaking, Lesson 10 is on Maketh and Kames Hatuf. Then in Lesson 11, we will be looking at Dagesh Lene, and Lesson 12, which I taught yesterday, is on Dagesh Forte. Before I continue, we're going to be starting by going to God in prayer. Father in heaven, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, the Holy One of Israel, who revealed to your peoples of old your spiritual truths that all mankind should know. We give you thanks, O Lord, that you have preserved the language in which this ancient revelation was given, the Hebrew language, that we today, many centuries later, may be able to study it. And one of the wonders is that there is a modern Hebrew, and that there is a language actually being spoken by the people of Israel in the Middle East, the Hebrew language, using the very same consonants and vowels that we have in the Bible. We give you thanks, dear Lord, that we can be learning this language, and we pray that you may help us to master it, that we can use it in our study of the Bible. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so we're going to be reviewing Maketh and Kames Hatuf at this time. Now, Maketh is a Hebrew word that means binding. Yes, let him in. He's a welcome guest. Yeah, he's a welcome guest. Yes. Maketh means binding. Just as how you see in the pictures on the screen, there are different ways of putting pages together to make one document or one book. Whether it is this spiral binding right here, or whether it is taped with electrical tape, or whether it is stitched and sewn and covered with a cardboard cover, or whether it is simply stapled. These are examples of binding.
This is a
Yeah, that's any book that is joined together with the pages together.
Yeah, that's the special one.
Yeah, is what you call binding. Now, Maketh then is a Hebrew word which is translated into English as binding or binder or connection. Binding means to join together. Two or more short words which are closely connected in meaning are often joined together by a hyphen-like horizontal line. In English, the same binding feature is seen in such phrases as father, hyphen or dash, in, hyphen or dash, law. and mother dash in dash law. Now, one word, father, doesn't mean father-in-law, and in does not mean father, and law has its own meaning. But when these separate words are joined together, it makes a new meaning. Father-in-law would be your wife's mother. If you were married, your wife's mother, your wife's father would be your father-in-law. And also, in a similar way, your wife's mother would be your mother-in-law. In the English translation of the King James Version, we have in the translation the use of the maketh, and this is why I used it to illustrate it, that in Genesis chapter 16, verses 8 to 14, when Hagar was running away from her mistress Sarah, she was pregnant and she was thirsty, and she was at a well that is called Be'er, which is well, Lahai, which is of the living one, Roi, that means who sees me. Now notice, it is not simply Be'er, but the well was called Be'er, Maketh, La, Maketh, Hai, Maketh, Roi. All of these words were joined together to form one word. It's now well of the living one who sees me. Because she was grateful that God sympathized with her and showed compassion on her in her distress. And so she named the well of the living one who sees me. We see another example of Maketh in the English translation in Genesis chapter 33 and verses 16 and 18 through 20. There is an altar that Jacob built after he entered the land of Canaan and was greeted in peace by his brother Esau, who had promised 20 years earlier that he would kill him for stealing his birthright from him as the firstborn. And now his brother Esau had received him in peace. Earlier on, when he was running away from Syria, his father-in-law pursued him with several men and would most likely have harmed Jacob and taken back his daughters, Leah and Rachel, and their children, if God had not intervened the night before by appearing to Laban, Jacob's father-in-law, in a dream and sternly warning him, look, when you see Jacob, I don't want you to say anything good or evil to him. In other words, don't hurt him. Don't do anything bad to him. And based upon that warning, Laban, out of fear of God, did not harm Jacob, but let him go on in peace. So when Jacob finally reached the land of Canaan, where his father and mother lived, he built an altar to worship God out of gratitude, and he called it, as you see on the screen, he called it by 3 Hebrew words: El, Elohe, Israel. El means God, Elohe means God of, and Israel, of course, that's Jacob's new name. An angel of God gave him a new name because he wrestled with this angel all night, and the angel could not win the wrestling match, and gave him a blessing and changed his name from Jacob to Israel. And so this is an acknowledgement of God's protection and of God's provision for him in the years that he was away from his daddy and mommy in Syria. El Elohe Israel. And notice what joins these words together is that horizontal line called in Hebrew makef, binder or binding or connection. So the makef has the effect of making the two or more short words become one word. So that's the essential meaning of makef. It joins words together. And when it does that, it forms one word out of the two or more words that are joined together. And these words have one meaning. As separate words not connected by makef, each word has an accent. Once the words have been joined together by makef and have therefore become one word, it is only the last word in the group of words which holds on to its accent. The accent on the word before the makef is dropped. The loss of an accent before a makef may often lead to a change in vowels. That is, the long vowel of the word before a makef becomes the corresponding short vowel. For example, sire, long E, changes to segol, short E. Okay. Now we're going to be looking at the next lesson. If I come out of the PowerPoint and put on the next one. Escape. Thank you. All right, so we're moving on to lesson 11. I learned something new today. Okay, lesson 11 is entitled Dagesh Lene. Now, Dagesh means piercing. It's like taking a sharp or pointed instrument, whether it's a pencil or whether it is, let us say, a tack or an ice pick, and boring a tiny hole. Now, this tiny hole is represented by a dot. Okay, let's pretend that there is a hole here. It's represented by a dot. And this dot is placed in the heart or in the center or in the middle of a letter or consonant. Lene is a Hebrew word that means weak. So we're dealing with a weak piercing. Now, although it is weak, it does bring about a change in how a letter is pronounced. Dagesh Lene hardens the sound of a consonant so that it changes the pronunciation of the consonant. For example, the consonant Beth, without the dot in the heart or the middle of it, is to be pronounced as V, V, such as in van. But when it has the dot in the heart or the middle of it, like here, Beth, it is to be pronounced B or B, such as in bathroom. Another example is the consonant Fe. Without the dot in the heart or the middle of it, it is pronounced as PH, like in fo. You can also say it is pronounced like an F, such as in telephone, or as the F in fan. But when it has the dot in the heart or the middle of it, like here, it is to be pronounced as P, such as in pa. So Dagesh Lene hardens the sound of a consonant so that it changes the pronunciation of the consonant. But remember, it is not strong. So it doesn't have the strength to make a letter repeat itself. All it can do is to change the pronunciation or the sound of the consonant. So it's called weak piercing. It's dagesh-lene, or weak piercing. Now there are only 6 letters in the alphabet that dagesh-lene can go in. And you can remember it from making 2 words from these 6 letters. For example, the first 3 letters could be pronounced. I could put a simple shawa under the base, and I could put a pathak, a short a, underneath the gimel, and you get the word begath. Begath. Then another word I can put under the kaf, a simple shawa, and under the fe, I can put a pathak, a short a, and it gives you kefaf. So when you just say begath, kefaf, it may help you to remember the 6 letters. Be, gath, kefaf. There are 6 letters that dagesh-lene will go in. It will go in the Veth, Gimel, Daleth, or Dalet, Kaf, Fe, and Thal. Dagesh-lene may be found in the heart or the middle of any of the consonants above when any one of these consonants starts a syllable in the beginning or middle of a word. But remember this part. Providing that there is no vowel immediately before that consonant. If there is a vowel, dagesh-lene is going to run away. For example, in the Hebrew word shavar, spelled with shin, and under the shin you have a commas a vowel, and then the next consonant is a bet. Now bet would normally take a dagesh-lene, but bet doesn't have the dagesh-lene because the vowel is there before it. The commas a is under the shin. And so we find that the dagesh-lene and the bet has to leave. And so you have shavar. Okay, so you will have the dagesh-lene in these consonants providing that there is no vowel that comes right before that consonant which has the dagesh-lene in it. If there is any vowel, whatever the vowel is, even if it is a shawa, a vocal shawa, a shawa that you call out or pronounce, if it's even a shawa, a half vowel, the dagesh-lene is going to leave. Okay, so when there is a vowel before it, the dagesh-lene in the next letter is going to leave. It's not going to stay. Okay, so here we have examples of this. He trusted Batak. Notice dagesh-lene is in Be because it starts a syllable. And there is no vowel before the Batak. And so the dagesh-lene can stay. Batak means he trusted. Similarly over here. Or over there, not over here. Yikbor means he will bury. Notice that Beth starts a syllable and takes dagesh-lene. However, in this case, Yiftak, he will trust. Notice that there is a vowel immediately before the Beth. This is the vowel short hirik. And because there is a vowel before the Beth, the dagesh-lene will have to leave. And so there is no Dagesh Lene here. You have a change in the pronunciation. Instead of book, it's now book. It's not book, it's book. Yiv. Seen in the V. Yiv tak. Yiv tak. Over here also, kavar, Iberi, which is what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Notice that Beth does not have Dagesh Lene in it because a vowel comes immediately before it. And so it doesn't stay, it leaves. Dagesh does not stay when there is a vowel before it. And Dagesh can come in any of those Begath, Kefath letters if they start a syllable in the beginning or in the middle of a word. But if there is a vowel before it, then Dagesh Lene will leave. It will not stay. So Dagesh Lene means piercing, and it refers to a dot which is in the heart or the middle of a consonant. Lene means weak. The effect of Dagesh Lene is to harden the consonant and to change its pronunciation. Dagesh Lene may only go in 6 consonants: Beth, Gimel, Dalet, Kaf, Fe, Zaw. Dagesh Lene may go in these 6 consonants if any one of them starts a syllable at the beginning or in the middle of a word. Dagesh Lene may not go in any one of these 6 consonants if there is a vowel immediately before it. Now moving on to the last lesson that was taught yesterday, Dagesh Forte. Dagesh is a Hebrew word that means piercing. This piercing is symbolized by a dot in the heart or middle or center of a consonant. Sheber, he broke in pieces. Note well, Dagesh Forte is a dot in the heart or middle or center of a letter. For example, Be. Forte means strong, in contrast to Lene, which means weak. Dagesh Forte is strong because it causes the consonant that it is written in to be doubled, that is, to be repeated. But Dagesh Lene only hardens the sound of the consonant or changes the pronunciation of the consonant. It does not cause it to be doubled or repeated. So Sheber, he broke in pieces. Notice that the Beth has Dagesh Forte, and therefore the B has to be repeated. There are 2 B's. There is 1 B here, but you know it is to be repeated because of this dot, Dagesh Forte, in the middle of the word. So the Beth, which has the Dagesh Forte in it, means that there are 2 B's. Dagesh Forte has caused Beth to be doubled or repeated. Dagesh Forte may be written in all consonants in the alphabet except the guttural consonants, which are these: Aleph, A, Keth, Ayin, and also except Resh. Okay, so these cannot be doubled. This cannot be doubled or repeated. There are 3 kinds of Dagesh Forte. You have Dagesh Forte compensative. For example, if a letter is lost when you're joining one word to another, as in the case of noon in the preposition min, then this loss of noon has to be compensated by having a doubling of the next letter, which is here shin. So what you have then is mi, and then there is a doubling of the next letter, shin. You have mish-shawu, from so. Dagesh forte compensative. There is Dagesh forte characteristic. There are certain verbs that express strong action. They are called P-I-E-L verbs. And for example, here is a verb that means simply to break, shavar. But when you put it in its PL form, the verb is shibir, and it means not simply to break, but to break in pieces. And they characteristically take Dagesh forte in the verb. So it's called Dagesh forte characteristic. And then there is Dagesh forte euphonic. Euphonic means a good sound. Sometimes Dagesh forte is put in a consonant to make the pronunciation clearer or smoother. Or again, if you are joining min, which is from, with coal, then what happens is there is a loss of the noon or the n, and there is a doubling of the next letter, kaf. And so instead of 1 K, you have how many Ks now? 2 Ks. And it's pronounced mik-kol, not mikol, but mik-kol, because there are 2 Ks there. Dagesh forte euphonic. A clearer or smoother pronunciation. Now, if the consonant to be doubled is a guttural or resh, since these cannot be doubled and so cannot receive Dagesh forte, the vowel immediately before the guttural or resh must be changed to its corresponding long vowel. Okay, so here you have again from, min, and man. And man begins with the letter aleph, which is a guttural. Aleph is a guttural consonant. Even though it's silent and you don't pronounce it, it is a guttural consonant. And the guttural consonant, therefore, cannot take a Dagesh forte in it. What, therefore, has to happen, even though the noon drops, like in other cases, you cannot put a dot to double the aleph because the aleph is already a strong sound. It's a guttural sound. So what happens is that there has to be a change from the hirik, the short I, to the sire, which is a long E sound. Okay, so what you end up having is, let me show you the stages. Min, ish, from a man. You join them together and you have min and ish. Then the noon is removed. But this can't work. You can't put a Dagesh forte in there. But let us say you put it in there because you don't know better. This is what you will end up having. But then you have to move to the next stage. Since aleph cannot take a Dagesh forte in it, then the vowel that is before the aleph has to be lengthened. And according to the Hebrew grammar, it is lengthened from the short I to the long E sound, the sire. So you end up having me, ish, meaning from a man. Short hirik is lengthened to sire. Short hirik is lengthened to sire. So if the consonant is there, is a guttural consonant or is a resh, it can't be doubled, so the vowel before the guttural consonant or before the resh has to be lengthened. Okay, I think that is it for it. Let me just sum it up. Dagesh forte denotes that a consonant is to be doubled or repeated. It applies to all consonants except the gutturals and resh. It may be compensative when for some reason a consonant is removed. The following consonant is doubled or repeated with Dagesh forte in it to compensate for its loss. Its characteristic, the characteristic of the verbs that strongly express actions have as part of how the verbs are written and pronounced the doubling or repeating of one of the consonants in the verb, which is indicated by a Dagesh forte in the consonant. Or euphonic, a consonant is sometimes doubled or repeated for clearer pronunciation. Now, because in this video at the bottom, the lady really simply sums up Dagesh Lene and Dagesh forte, I'm going to replay it in our review.
Shalom, welcome again to eTeacher Biblical. My name is Sigal. Let's go to lesson number 5. This lesson is going to be dealing with the Dagesh. You remember the Dagesh? We mentioned this Dagesh earlier in previous lessons. It's a tiny dot, as you can see here in the slide, inside the letter. We will have to put it in the heart of the letter. So this dot, the problem of this dot is that we have the same exact dot, which is called a Dagesh, and for different purposes. As you can see here in the chart, on the bottom part, the letter Mem has a Dagesh. And this Dagesh would like to represent doubling. Why is that? Because in English, you can easily write the word grammar with 2 M's. People would never do something like that. Multiply a letter. Instead of multiplying the letter, we just put a Dagesh, and this is exactly the purpose of multiplying. So you're not going to find something like grammar in Hebrew, just 2 letters coming one after another without a vowel. Whenever you have a situation like that, you will probably see a Dagesh. This is one type of Dagesh. And the slide here demonstrates, you see the person holding the weights. So why is that? Because this Dagesh that is multiplying the letter is called the strong Dagesh. Strong Dagesh. Another Dagesh is just called the Lene Dagesh, and this Dagesh would only represent pronunciation. What do you mean pronunciation? There are several letters in Hebrew where you put a Dagesh, they would make a hard sound, what we call a plosive. I'll demonstrate one of them. Let's say I take the letter Bet, and I put a Dagesh inside, it would make the pronunciation B. B. What happens if I take the Dagesh out? The pronunciation now is going to be V. So fricative, you keep on saying V. Another letter that can demonstrate the situation is, let's take the letter P. If you put a Dagesh in this letter, it's going to be sound as P. Take the Dagesh out, it's going to be fricative. So that's exactly this purpose of this, the Lene Dagesh. Both Dageshes look exactly identical, just a tiny dot in the heart of the letter. So it's going to be requiring some kind of learning. Let's see some of the Dageshes here within Genesis 3:3. You see some letters are uncertain. I will talk to you about each one of them. But let's read first. ומפרי העץ אשר בתוך הגן אמר אלוהים לא תאכלו ממנו ולא תיגעו בו pen temutun. So let's start with the first Dagesh. This is Elene Dagesh, just a pronunciation Dagesh. The second one, you don't know yet why, but I just tell you. The next one is in the word Hadgan, which is the garden. It is a strong Dagesh. The very next letter is in the word pen, lest, and this is also a pronunciation Dagesh, a Elene Dagesh. And again, the very last word, temutun, is also a Elene Dagesh. So, let's see you back again in lesson number 6. And I will again greet you in Hebrew. Shalom v'todah.
Yeah. Yes, I'm listening. This one?
No.
Which one? Right here? This one?
This.
Exit out?
Yes. Have to.
Okay. 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 So we have looked, you can turn on the lights now. So we have looked at lesson 10, which deals with makef, which means binding. Kamasatuf. I don't remember looking at Kamasatuf with you. Let me go back there. Lesson 10. Didn't get to the Kamasatuf. Don't remember doing that. Or let's look at the Kamasatuf briefly. Okay, good. How to recognize when Kamas A is, when this symbol here that resembles our capital T is Kamas A, and when the symbol here is Kamas Hatuf. Okay, here is a comparison between the two. Over this side you have Kamas A, and over on that side you have Kamas Hatuf. First of all, Kamas A is found in an open syllable. That is a syllable which is made up of a consonant and a vowel. On the other hand, Kamas Hatuf is never found in an open syllable. That is a syllable which is made up of a consonant and a vowel. So you'll find this in an open syllable, but you won't find this in an open syllable. Next, Kamas A is not found in a closed syllable. That is a syllable which is made up of a consonant and a vowel, followed by another consonant, if this syllable is not accented. On the other hand, Kamas Hatuf is found in a closed syllable. That is a syllable which is made up of a consonant and a vowel, followed by another consonant, if this syllable is not accented. Okay, so Kamas A is not found in a closed, accented, Kamas A is not found in a closed syllable, which does not have an accent over it. But Kama Satuf is found in a closed syllable if this syllable does not have an accent over it. Okay, so that's briefly what the Kama Satuf is. All right, the test is going to be simple, but I don't want you to underestimate its difficulty. I think it is simple, but I want you to study it as if it is going to be a hard test, but don't get anxious, just study it as best as you can, and you should be able to manage it. Okay? Any question on any part of the review of lesson 10, lesson 11, or lesson 12?
Is it we're going to get this from lesson 14?
Lesson 10, 11, and 12. Those 3 lessons, which you already have in your email. Any other question?
As usual, you always send that we put them together and send it.
Okay, I actually sent the 3 of the lessons yesterday evening. I sent not just lesson 12, I sent lesson 12 that was taught yesterday, and I clicked accidentally and sent the email off, and then I forwarded the same email and attached the other 2 lessons, lesson 10, Makev and Kama Satuf, and lesson 11, Dagish Lene. So you already have from yesterday evening the 3 lessons together. The 3 attached files are together. Yeah. So you can just look at it over and over. If there is anything you don't understand, you can always email me and ask me the question and tell me the problem. And I'll do my best to try to make it clearer. You already have my email on your system. Any other question? Okay. Well, let me check the time. I'm going to end the class at this time. You'll have roughly around, well, only 2 of you will be in this other class that comes at 1:30. So we're going to be taking a break right now and resume class in hermeneutics at 1:30. So God bless you all. Have a good weekend. And I will see Robens and Orain in the lesson on hermeneutics. Yeah. Thank you. All right.